are here in Mount Jerome Cemetery in County Dublin, one of Ireland's historical cemeteries, where some graves have been buried. It's a place of Protestants before Catholic emancipation and before sorry if you logging on and logging off, we're still trying to figure this out. If you can hear me, let me know. It's extremely windy, so it's not picking up properly. The grave of Paddy O'Daly, or Patrick O'Daly, who was the leader of the squad. It's quite big. We're going to have a quick look for him and find out. We will head down towards some graves where actually nowhere to locate them. Patrick O'Daly was the leader of the squad, and he also carried out some but he eventually life in Inchicore after he died, after the war. Now his grave is somewhere around here, but I'm not going to be able to find it. Fierce windy. Try to get this a little closer. If you can hear me, great, and if it is too windy and you can't pick it up, I'll just have to do this another time. I was hoping the mic would cover up some of the wind, but it's not really working. I'm going to move forward. The larger grave areas in this castle. I'll just spin this around. If you can hear me, if it's picking up on the mic a little bit, let me know. But if it's too windy, I'll knock it off. I'll just do it another day. But this is Mount Jerome Cemetery, so let me spin this around. So this part of the cemetery just looks like standard cemetery now. Up toward the entrance, which I'll show you in a little bit, are some of the massive mausoleums that were built in the 17 and 1800s. So they would have been the rich and wealthy around Dublin. Some of them being Freemasons, some of them the Dublin Metropolitan Police, and there's two elements that we call it squad buried here in the cemetery as well. Can't locate their graves so far. Found one of the areas, but the headstones are all washed off because they're quite old. So I can't find that. Another one I'm going to look for this morning after this live. But he was the fella that killed Thomas McCartan, the Lord Mayor of Cork, in 1920. With Thomas McCartan's pistol to execute him. Historical graves are also tell you a bit about their history. A little bit of a figure there with Patrick and O'Daly's, but I visited once, so I thought I'd be able to locate it. So the first grave that we're going to go up to will be David Nelligan's. He was Michael Collins' spy in Dublin Castle. Actually Eoin who snuck him in, not David Nelligan. David Nelligan was was a member of the LP, supposedly wanted to join an IRA flying column. And then when Michael Collins heard that he'd quit, he told them to go back, rejoin, and he ended up joining onto the political investigation wing. And he spied for Collins for most of the War of Independence. And he was then said to have gone on and actually, again in the Civil War, carried out some executions. Again down in County Kerry, because I believe these men were fairly close to Collins. So when he did die, they wanted revenge. And it's just down here. So give me a moment and we'll find David Nelligan's grave. Now, and just hopefully you can pick up what I'm saying here. This is Colonel David Nelligan, formerly a spy for Michael Collins. You'll probably see some of his archive footage on my channel. And then you have it down here. In loving memory of Colonel David Nelligan, the spy in the castle, died on 6th October 1983, aged 83 years. So he actually gave a couple of interviews after, towards the end of his life. So there's a good bit of information about him. But I think he was from Offaly originally. But he wrote the book Spy in the Castle about Michael Collins and his time serving with him. But that is the grave of David Nelligan. Now we'll carry on, we'll go into towards some more historical graves. I'll point out a little bit from them. Now one of Michael Collins' targets was John Redmond, or Liam Redmond. In the movie Michael Collins, he is depicted as dying in the car bomb in Dublin Castle. He's the fellow that comes down from Armagh, tells all the detectives that he's going to clean up Dublin, and then he's blown up in the car bomb straight away. Now he actually was executed like the second day he was in Dublin, but it wasn't with a car bomb. He was shot on the street with Michael Collins' men. Without being able to locate his grave, just because of the age of the cemetery and how unkept it is, it was one of the vaults. But he's buried in this location, so about not even a 2-minute walk from where David Nelligan was buried. David Nelligan probably helped organise his execution. He's buried somewhere around here. You can see like how worn down the headstones are. That it's a little tricky to find all the people. So we'll go across here. So yeah, he's buried in this location, but I've never been able to find him. But what we'll do is we'll carry on, show you where the members of the RIC are buried, and one of Michael Collins' assassins from the squad, Joe Leonard, his grave I should be able to find pretty easy. It kind of stands out. But we'll go over to where the RIC are buried first, and I'll show you some of the old, like, rich Protestant graves. Now these RIC probably didn't die in the War of Independence, but they would have maybe served during the War of Independence in 1916. Any of the dates that I could find on it weren't connected to the War of Independence. Well, here you can see that big kind of like obelisk thing. That's where the RIC are buried. Now, and anyone that is on the live, thanks for joining. I do appreciate it. I know this isn't your usual Saturday morning thing to do, but these big ones are religious institutions. So these are the 3 religious institutions of Mount Jerome Cemetery. And we'll go over. Towards. This is the RIC memorial. So this is to members of the force served in Dublin and across Ireland. So the Royal Irish Constabulary, erected by their comrades. That's the RIC. That's the mausoleum in Mount Jerome Cemetery. So none of the names on it are from the War of Independence. Let's see here. In memory of members of the Royal Irish Constabulary interned in this cemetery. So it's not from, it might be from buried in this exact location. They're buried somewhere in the graveyard. That's their mausoleum. The wider Mount Jerome Cemetery. Now, this is Thomas Drummond's mausoleum. Look at on top. He done the Irish, ordnance the first official and well recognised map of Ireland. He was also a scientist. Lord Chancellor of Ireland, born in 1796 and died in 1871. These are the large mausoleums across. Now, might have to tap out this pretty quick. I will take a walk around, let's have a look. Some of the graves. Interesting people that may or may not be here. So, who is this? Mary Louisa, Lady Thomas, dearly loved wife of William Thomas, Fitzwilliam Square, Dublin. Died May 17th, 1910. Surgeon General Colborne, late Royal Horse Artillery, died September 19th, 1896. This is the grave of Thomas Davis. He served his country and loved his kind. Thomas Davis was a nationalist. Activities. That's Thomas Davis, so he would be a nationalist, perhaps leaning into a Republican leader in Ireland. Interesting headstones. Captain Cook, Royal Hospital, Parker's life in 1880. We'll keep going. I'm not sure if anyone is watching, but perhaps they are, or they might in the future. So this is Mount Jerome Cemetery. Now I'm just walking into the old area. I wouldn't know much of the history of these people as they died many years ago. So this one, for example, John Mack, who departed this life on Sunday morning, 6th day of September 1885. whoever he was some sort of prominent man. There's massive mausoleum and headstones just past Thomas Davis, who was an Irish nationalist leader, fought for Irish independence through political means. I did have a couple of people commenting that the wind is picking up on the microphone and they can't really hear anything, so I do apologise for that. If you can hear me, if you could just give like a little thumbs up in the comment box or something, that'd be great, just so I know I'm not wrecking people's heads by talking in through just windery blusts. So these are some of the large mausoleums, so we're just waiting our way down towards the grave of one of Michael Collins' squad members. Fierce windy. Someone thumbs up. Hoping. Okay, so we've got, I think that fierce windy one was from a little earlier, so hopefully it's died down a little bit now. So we're looking for, I failed there in the search for Patrick O'Daly, who was the leader of the Collins squad. He's buried down the far end of Mount Rome Cemetery. He kind of blends in with those around him, but Joe Leonard was another member of Michael Collins' squad, and from memory I should be able to find his grave. And what was strange about, not strange, but was pretty interesting, is one of the children of Joe Leonard actually watches my videos. So this is a man who fought Michael Collins' squad as part of the War of Independence, and he still has children alive, which I thought was pretty cool. And her granddaughter reached out to say that she was watching some of the videos. Now the worst thing was the first video I made on him, I got the information completely wrong. I said he'd moved to Australia, which he never had. He was living in rat mines in Dublin. And this is his grave up here. So you see it still has flowers. Still has flowers on it. So this is Colonel Richard Joe Leonard. And the reason I got all his information at the time was because in all the books his name was just Joe Leonard, so I thought it was just, that was his name. So you can see, there, you can see it here. Colonel Joe Leonard, late of General Mike Collins' squad, active service unit. And his wife Claire Joanna. So he was involved in a number of the attacks and assassinations during the War of Independence, including Bloody Sunday, and also in the attempted breakout of Sean Mahone from Mountjoy Prison, along with what's his name now, who's with them, along with Emma Dalton. So they dressed up as British Army officers and drove an armoured truck into Mountjoy Prison, pretending that they were members of the British Army, but they were found out after they entered, I think, the second gate. Somebody realised that there was other men in plainclothes sneaking behind them, attempting to break in to Mountjoy to get out Sean Mahone. So they had to do a little running battle to get out in the armoured truck. But that's Joe Leonard, so he was one of the 12 apostles of Michael Collins' squad, and he's buried here in Mount Rome Cemetery. What we'll do now is I'll go through some of the older parts again to show some of the impressive mausoleums and where there's some Freemasons buried along with members of the Dublin Metropolitan Police who would have been the equivalent of the Royal Irish Constabulary, but operating just in Dublin City because of the urban nature. There's another one here. Late sub-inspector of the constabulary, husband of Anne, died in 1860, so he was an inspector for the Royal Irish Constabulary. Now let's go through. So hopefully this doesn't pick up on the wind, and thanks for those tuning in. I know it's a little different from regular Saturdays. I just thought I'd do something a bit different today. Not really make it out exploring too far at the moment with work and the weather, so I'll just keep home, stay close to home. So this is walking into the, I would assume, the older part of the cemetery, just because of the age of the mausoleums, the dates and people on them. So as I was pointing out, that one over in the distance with the top, the big, I don't know, bowl or boat, that was Thomas Drummond, who did the first coordinate survey map of Ireland. So using some sort of light reflective technology, he measured distances between areas in the first coordinate survey map. Now this is the mausoleum for the Dublin Metropolitan Police. Now none of these dates correspond with the War of Independence. Before the War of Independence, so the first one was 1884, the last one was 1911. Now a lot of these wouldn't have been buried just in this plot, but they would have been buried on the grounds of Mount Jerome Cemetery, and then used, this is used as like the marker, same with the memorial, which is over there in the distance, the brown top on it. This is the vault of the Hone family. Think about them. Just making our way up towards, there's a Freemason grave, and then we make our way up to the mausoleum for the Guinness family. So you watched Mr. Guinness, buried. Arthur Guinness himself was obviously buried in Kildare. But the rest of the family, or at least the majority of them, are buried in the mausoleum. Oh, there's the Freemasons over here. So, I just noticed this before with the insignia that's on them. So, see the Freemason symbols there. So there's two of them side by side now, I'm sure, because it used to be just Protestants buried here. Obviously Catholics can join too, but most of them are Protestants, I believe. And then over here you have G.L. Battersby. From what I was reading, he died during the War of Independence, 21st of October 1919, but I think he died from wounds from World War One. So there's a lot of deaths occurred afterwards that were attributed to him. That is a Freemason's grave. There's some of the other mausoleums. Now we'll make our way towards where the Guinness family vault, also the father of Aubrey Hepburn, the famous and Martin Cahill, one of the most infamous Irish gangsters. They're all buried in the same section and pretty close to each other, so we'll go over towards that. So the Guinness family, after Arthur Guinness passed away, it was passed along to his son, and then when his son passed away, it was left to the four children. They're the four children that are depicted in the House of Guinness. Now I didn't watch it, I did some history videos on it, on the actual people, and then when I heard the story of what they were doing in the show, decided I wouldn't bother watching it because it didn't seem to be fairly accurate. It was all dramatized. So if you happen to ever be in Mount Jerome Cemetery and you're looking for a particular grave, you can, I'll show you where the office is, you can always go into the office and ask, and they'll be able to point you at least in the relatively right direction. So big ones, I'll just have a quick walk. You can always go into the offices and ask, and they'll show you where, at least the general direction where some of the graves are buried. Anderson. So these are just some of the impressive ones, but we'll go towards the people that I do know about. Yeah, I'm back in the the open, so if I'll get in and out of the window in a second. So apologies for having like over the mic so we're not getting blown away. But this office here, just go down these steps and you'll be able to get the locations. Now just 2 seconds and we'll be in and out of the window. This is a newer cemetery, and then some people visit the graves there, so we'll go around that. It's a problem with doing the videos in Ireland during the winter, or any time the wind is killer. Alexander Findleiter. Sorry, this is just a little. This is just a bit of a walk up towards the Guinness family vault, which we'll get to now. So we'll put in here. Hopefully you can hear me. So the Guinness family vault is coming up. That's where the grandchildren of Arthur Guinness are buried. Now you would think it would be this big one, but it's actually not. Sir William French, Henry Richard Barton French. It's either this one, this one, I'll check. Yes, I believe it's this one. This is the Guinness family vault. So where the grandchildren of Arthur Guinness are buried. Oh, the family vault. No, sorry, it's the next one up. Yes, here we go. The family vault of Arthur Guinness of Beaumont, County Dublin. So that is where the children that were depicted in the House of Guinness were the brothers and sisters. This is the family vault for most of them. I believe 3 of the 4 are buried here. They were depicted in the House of Guinness. They have taken over the running of the company after their father died and their grandfather obviously passed away. And in the show they're depicted as battling it out, when in reality the sister, she was actually just used the money, she was quite religious. She set up a couple of charities. One brother didn't really have any interest in the family business and he joined the British Army. Then Arthur took over and he expanded the company. I can't remember now the last brother. But that's the family vault of the Guinness family. And then I'll show you just last 2 graves. A little bit of interest that I know about anyway is the father of Audrey Hepburn, Hollywood fame. He moved to Dublin after World War II. He died and is buried in this plot. So this is blocked down out. Anthony Hepburn Ruston and Fidelma. So that was his second wife. His first wife, obviously, Audrey's mother. He, you see here, always remembered by his loving wife Fidelma and daughter Audrey. So he was like a Nazi supporter in World War II, and he was actually interned either in Scotland or Wales, I'm pretty sure, during World War II because of his political activities. And once he was released after World War II, he moved to Dublin and lived out the rest of his life. Mine, the second one here. And Audrey then would sometimes come and visit, so that I think there's pictures of either Ranelagh or Mines. But Audrey Hepburn and her dad and her stepmom. So her stepmom actually lived 2019. It's pretty impressive. And then just the last one. See the grave of Martin Cahill is known as the general. It's just over here. So the Guinnesses, Martin Martin Cahill, the general grave. So his one is just out, headstone. Now he still has lots of family and friends and stuff, so I don't want to put that out, but it's just there. This is out the new cemetery part. We'll just take a little short walk. This wind again. Trying to get out of the wind. These are just some of the ones as well. So Lieutenant Colonel William Sheffield is related from Magistrates Bengal Staff Corps. Departed this life on the 22nd of March 1874. There's a lot of old army graves here. So, Honourable Maria Julia Barry, widow of Colonel Thomas Barry of Lesbrook, County Meath, and mother-in-law of Reverend John Delamance, died on the 16th of June 1847. Now, in this graveyard also, there's a lot of other political activists, old members of the British Army, and rich landowners. That's why you have some big headstones and intricate designs, especially around this older part. Like here, let's do a quick walk through parts of the graveyard. These parts now I wouldn't have been to, so we're exploring this together. See if we can find anyone that we recognise. And it's just if the wind is picking up again, you could let me know. I'll try and hunker down. If there's any heads or any big crosses around in particular you want me to stop at as well. So let's see the intricate writing there. Almost looks Latin. Makes it difficult to read. Big ones. These are dedicated to Robert Simpson, Mason Street, born and Scareline, died in this city 1879. Checking out these big ones, they're obviously usually somewhere. A lot of the time they've actually been referenced and stuff. These are family crypts. Usually, now I can't really see in there, but usually the graves are located up on the sides of the grave. The headstones would be, the coffins would be buried up onto the sides or landed on the sides, not usually lying flat. Most likely involved in the killing. He is buried in this cemetery. I know I wasn't able to locate him before the start of the video. So once I finish up here, I'll probably try and locate it, so then I can make a little video. But until then, we'll have a little walk around, and I do appreciate people checking in and staying on, even as the weather is blowing me away. So we'll make our way down towards that part of the graveyard that I believe the man is buried in. Erected in the memory of Miss Martha Marie P. died June 1846. It actually looks like the head's not on that statue, but it actually is. It's just very dark, black from whatever's on the stone or whatever's eroding it. So this is a completely new part of the cemetery for me. I haven't been here, so there's the lack of commentary might not be. That's the reason. Alfred Digby Dennis, Major General, late Bengal, died on the 10th of June 1910. Second son of the late Lieutenant Colonel G.G. Dennings, Bengal Horse and Rally. Joseph Robertson, vicar choral of the Cathedral Churches of Christ Church in St. Patrick, born 20th of August 1815, died August 1898. Back to solo adventure. We'll continue. Commander. Take a stroll here, but I'll probably finish up quite soon. For one final this new area of cemetery, but I'm not sure if it had that kind of look. for watching.